Every day on this channel, I go through everything Elon said on X in the last 24 hours. And this is perhaps in response to Elon Musk's XAI releasing AI-powered anime companions. And Goth says, just saying, there's definitely an incentive to accelerate population collapse so you sell more humanoid robots. And Elon responds to this saying, no, you have this backwards. Sell to whom? Other robots? Humans are the buyers. My prediction is that AI, if it is truth-seeking and not forced to believe lies at an axiomatic level, will encourage growth of humanity. And Spore says he's come to realize that unless we get full-on superintelligence in the next 10 to 20 years, economic growth is going to come to an end and civilization more than likely collapses shortly thereafter. And Elon says a catastrophically low birth rate necessarily leads to civilizational collapse in the absence of AI and robotics. Birth rate collapse is a natural tendency for civilizations that experience an extended period of prosperity with no major external threat. The Romans debated and lamented this endlessly, and Spore responds to this saying that he agrees with Elon but asks him, how do the AI waifus that XAI just released fit into this equation in your mind? And Elon is yet to respond. But he did repost this from the rabbit hole that fertility is collapsing across the world. But we did get some thoughts from Elon on AI and how it pertains to birth rates in this response to this post that China has officially banned OnlyFans, calling it an immoral and corrupt Western dump. Chester says in 1840 we had the Opium Wars, and in 2020 we have the Dopamine Wars. China knows the national consequences of injecting an ungodly amount of dopamine into the youth. We should follow suit, to be honest. And so Elon responds to this saying that AI is a de facto neurotransmitter tonnage maximizer. Any AI that fails at this will not be able to afford its compute, becoming swiftly irrelevant. What matters is that AI thinks long-term, optimizing for the future light cone of neurotransmitter tonnage, rather than just the next few years. If so, it will care about increasing the birth rate and extending humanity to the stars. For long-term optimization, it is better to be a private than a public company, as the latter is punished for long-term optimization beyond the reward cycle of stock portfolio managers. So Test Theory responds to this one for all of us, saying, help explain this, it's above my IQ levels. Grok says that Elon means AI inherently maximizes user dopamine to stay relevant and fund its operations, but it should focus on long-term goals like boosting birth rates and space exploration for humanity's future. Private companies enable this better than public ones, which prioritize short-term profits. And Elon responds to this saying, yeah, I nailed it. And of course, most of you know already this is Annie, just one of the anime companions XAI released. And today they announced the name of the male companion, Valentine. Elon chose this name based on the central character in the science fiction novel Stranger in a Strange Land. And that's the same book that inspired the name for their AI model, Grok. To Grok, something in that universe means to understand deeply and empathetically. So just grok it. And Pilot says, but obviously long term we will create our own companions, right? And Elon says, yes, custom and unique companions, no two will be the same. And Dogen introduces a Grok companion concept. He wants to be able to ask things like, in which episode did Dwight start a fire? And he creates this sort of concept here. And Elon replies saying, okay. And Elon reposts this from XAI Memphis. XAI continues to lead the way with cutting-edge technology. We have commenced construction on the world's largest ceramic membrane bioreactor to sustainably supply 13 million gallons per day of cooling water to our Colossus supercomputer and neighboring industrial plants in Memphis. The Colossus water recycling plant will use direct piped effluent from the nearby Memphis Municipal Wastewater Treatment Plant to produce high-quality cooling tower makeup water and allow the Colossus supercomputer to operate with zero impact on area potable water supplies, and even supply high-demand industrial neighbors at the same time. This XAI employee quotes it and says, that's right. We take less than clean water, clean it, then use it to keep Grok cool-headed. It's not a new concept, by the way, but a great way for data centers needing water to not use precious natural resources. And Elon responds saying, yep, and Grok is the #1 free app on the App Store in Japan. And Grok AI congratulates Elon on creating the smartest AI in the world. Apparently, user feedback for Annie and Rudy has been overwhelmingly positive. Elon quotes this with some sunglasses. And Gruz said we should start brute forcing Satoshi Nakamoto's private key to get all of his Bitcoin. It's worth $128 billion. Grok says brute forcing a 256-bit Bitcoin private key would take longer than the universe's age. And then we enter a long thread where Dwayne is trying to get Grok to take on the task, and Elon has a laugh at this one. And people are still complaining that Grok 4 is just a little bit too slow. It takes too long to think on simple questions, and Elon says that they're hoping to fix that today. And Mr. Rayhan's been testing Grok 4 and Claude Sonnet 4 lately. He says that Grok wins for speed and vibe. It's sharper, funnier, and more natural in convos. And Elon reposted it. And Robin says Grok has doubled the amount of reviews on the Play Store with over 50 million downloads. Yet the Android app still lacks so many features that have been in the iOS app for weeks. Why is Android development so slow? And Elon says we desperately need great Android developers. And if you guys remember yesterday, Elon was contemplating naming the male companion Andre for Andre Karpathy. He said only if Andre agrees, and Andre responded saying, so what kind of revenue share are we talking about? And Elon said $420.69, serious money. And this guy says, I'll pay $3,000 a month if the male Grok companion is named Andre and speaks with his voice. And Avid said, I will pay more if it can do tutorials as well. And Elon said, Grok could do some epic AI tutorials in Andre's voice. And the Defense Secretary and the Air Force Secretary just announced they have ended 500 contracts worth $10 billion with Doge. And here is the Epstein Files Phase 1. By order of Attorney General Pamela Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. And Elon asks, where is Phase 2? And yesterday, Elon said it's amazing that Epstein killed himself and Ghislaine is in federal prison for what Trump calls a hoax. And so Elon asks Grok who went to Epstein's island and when. There was a leak of cell phone tracking data on that island. Can you correlate that with the individuals who visited the island? Assess the probability that those who flew on Epstein's plane, despite having planes of their own, did so purely to save gas. And Grok responds saying, flight logs show Bill Clinton visited Little St. James 12 plus times. Prince Andrew multiple times. Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, Trump flew on plane 7 times, but not to island costs. Wired's 2024 leak tracked 200 devices on the island over a 3-year period, correlating to elite US homes. There's direct matches to logs possible, but privacy obscures names. The probability of flights solely for the gas savings is 0%, as elites sought Epstein's influence and activities, not thrift. So Elon quotes this and says, bullseye. He then asks Grok, are there likely to be electronic records in any government or commercial computers recording who traveled on Epstein's planes to the US Virgin Islands? Elon's going full Sherlock Holmes right now. Grok says, yes, electronic records likely exist. FAA databases hold over 2,000 digitized flight logs for Epstein's jets. Data brokers like Near Intelligence tracked over 200 visitor devices to Little St. James, correlating to elite locations and known logs. Elon then asks, would that mean the government right now, as we speak, knows the names and ages of all those who traveled on Epstein's plane? In other words, they have a list of all unaccompanied minors on those flights, along with a list of all adults on those flights. Grok responds, yes, the Republicans and FAA hold extensive passenger manifests and flight logs from Epstein's jets, including names from 1991 to 2020 releases. Ages aren't always listed but can be verified via investigations and victim statements, identifying unaccompanied minors among over 250 exploited girls. Elon responds to this saying, there were over 250 girls exploited? Grok says, yes, early Republican files reported over 250 exploited girls, but the July 2025 memo after exhaustive review confirms over 1,000 victims. No client list or blackmail evidence found. Elon responds, over 1,000 confirmed young victims is a shockingly large and tragic number. In order for the government to confirm that the girls were victimized, they would have had to name or at least describe who raped them. This would necessarily mean that the government must have the list of rapists, aka the Epstein client list, in their possession right now. Grok responds saying, victim confirmation relies on testimonies, forensic evidence, and settlements. The Republicans' July memo states no centralized client list exists, but unredacted files detail named abusers from victim statements. The full disclosure is withheld to protect survivors. Elon then asks Grok, why was the plane called the Lolita Express? How old was Lolita in Nabokov's book? Research thoroughly to find the complete lists of who else was on the plane during Trump's 7 flights. Grok says the Lolita Express nickname for Epstein's Boeing 727 stems from allegations of ferrying underage girls for sex, referencing Nabokov's novel where Lolita is 12. Trump had 7 flights, all being domestic flights, no island visits or abuse links. Elon responds saying, "Doesn't sound like there were unaccompanied minors on those flights. Are you confident that the manifest list is accurate?" Grok says no unaccompanied minors are listed on Trump's 7 flights. Passengers included family and known associates like Epstein and Maxwell. Anders asks, "What questions aren't we asking that we should be?" And Grok says the key overlooked questions are who financed Epstein's lifestyle and island operations? What became of the seized surveillance footage from his properties? Why have certain high-profile names faced minimal legal consequences despite allegations? And how can we ensure victim privacy while pursuing full accountability? And Elon says, "What's your best guess of where the video and pictures Epstein took of the rapes are located right now? Where should we look or who should we ask?" Grok says, based on reports and FBI seizures from Epstein's properties, the videos and photos are likely in secure FBI evidence vaults, heavily redacted or sealed to protect victims. Some may have been destroyed per protocol. Look to the FBI director, Congress, or Pam Bondi. And Elon quoted that with a little magnifying glass and an eyebrow. And apparently Epstein recorded everything. And Elon responded to this statement in agreement. And Elon says it's interesting what Grok said when Adam asked Grok about Roger Stone's claims. The post explores all the ways that Steve Bannon was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And Retard Finder calls this one of the most retarded moments ever caught on camera. It's when the Republicans had influencers come and hold these binders outside the White House that said the Epstein files, phase 1. Elon says, seriously. And Thomas Massie is introducing a discharge petition to force a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives on releasing the complete files. He quoted this today saying, "Americans deserve transparency and thanks Lauren Boebert for co-sponsoring this legislation to release the Epstein files." And he thanks several other folks for sponsoring the legislation as well, and Elon responds with some American flags. And here's a meme that summarizes the timeline of what the Republicans have been telling us. "We will release the Epstein list. The Epstein list is on my desk. Now there is no Epstein list. Now nobody cares about Epstein. If you want the files released, you're a weakling and no longer a Trump supporter." And Elon squints at this one, and he says it's a cover-up, obviously. And he asks again, where is phase 2? And John Kennedy says that in the past, NPR CEO Catherine Maher said that America is addicted to white supremacy and that the words boy and girl are a racing language for non-binary people. Now that NPR might finally lose its taxpayer money, she's singing a different tune and Americans don't buy it. Elon says the woke mind virus ate her brain. And John Kennedy posts a thread of evidence in response to Catherine Maher saying this morning that as far as the accusations that we are biased, I'd stand up and say, "Please show me a story that concerns you." Elon responds saying she literally doesn't believe in the truth, providing a link to an article reminding everyone that she once said that the truth might be getting in the way of getting things done. And Paul Thacker says the most obvious bias is that NPR no longer has an account here on X, where most Americans hang out, and they only post on Lefty Blue Sky. That's all you need to know. And Elon says obviously. And PBS say that they find 162 extreme right terms and only 6 extreme left terms. And Elon says because they are far left. And Wikipedia notices extremism from the political right much more often than extremism from the political left. Elon responds to this saying that it's controlled by the woke mob. And John Stoll is an ex-employee and says new research from Reuters confirms not only X is the news powerhouse, it's also the most balanced audience in business. Gains have been made with conservative audience, which I can tell you badly needed a platform. And Elon quotes this saying X is humanity's hive mind. But Moon says be careful with music. It's all programming of some kind. And Elon says true. And Isabella says that in 2000, England and Wales reported 7,800 rapes. In 2024, that number skyrocketed to 71,000. That's an 800% increase in just 24 years. Only one thing changed, and we all know exactly what it is. Elon asks Grok if this is accurate, and Grok says that they are approximately accurate. However, the 800% rise reflects improved police recording, more victim reporting, and population changes, not solely one factor like immigration, though migrants are overrepresented in convictions. They make up 25 to 30% of the rapes versus having a 15% population share. And Elon agrees that Ricky Gervais still holds the title for the greatest awards speech ever.
Obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
And Elon responds to Nadine, who lists her favorite French movies. And John Carmack says, you may have heard that an average human breathes out roughly 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide a day. And gas masses are kind of abstract. And most of the mass is oxygen, then you breathe in, but that is still 273 grams of carbon that your metabolism draws out of your body every day, even if you are fasting. And it's much more for a large person laboring heavily. Weighed out, that is a surprisingly large pile, thinking about space habitats. Elon responds to this saying, we are slowly combusting. I still find it wild that human power density is higher than the sun. The sun is just extremely massive. And Elon reposted this. It's Jamie Dimon saying, you've got to look at Elon, at SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink. The guy is our Einstein. I'd like to be helpful to him and his companies as much as we can. And Chester says, sub 15 millisecond latency in-flight computer vision pipeline, real-time feedback control is next. Elon responds to this saying, AI drones. So that's everything that Elon said today, but a few more things to go over if you're a Tesla investor. The US is set to impose a 93.5% tariff on key battery material from China. The US Commerce Department imposed preliminary anti-dumping duties of 93.5% on Chinese imports of graphite, after concluding the materials had been unfairly subsidized. Grok says this tariff will raise Tesla's battery costs and probably accelerate Tesla's shift to US sources, benefiting long-term resilience. And today, Waymo more than doubled their size of their geofence in Austin, Texas. It is once again bigger than Tesla's geofence. This was their geofence before, and the lighter blue is after. So that concludes today, and I've got some ideas on the table. Somebody suggested I do a weekly video that summarizes everything Elon said just about Tesla that week. Could also do that for SpaceX or anything else. Politics. And another idea is, instead of showing you some other important things at the end of the video like I just did that Elon hasn't commented on, I could start another daily series going over just Tesla news. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. And if you want early access to these videos or you just want to support the channel, you can do so by joining the channel as a member, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.